The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. LSRTV presents the United Sim Racing B&C Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. Live from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway in Lincoln, Alabama, it's round 25 and race 2 of the round of 9 for the chase for the championship. Hello everybody, my name is Cisco Scaramuza, joined up in the booth tonight by Chris Murdoch. I'll be pushing the buttons, getting the picture you see to you as well. Evan Pisoko to join us in the booth here hopefully later on, but Chris, well, we're at Talladega and we've been here for a while. We came here Monday night in the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series. We came here Friday night in the Super Speedway Cup Series. Once again back at the biggest, baddest track here on the circuit. We know the plates, we know what the plate tracks can bring in terms of racing wise, but this time we're in the trucks. What makes this race different?
Just the draft model that you experience here in the trucks and how hard it is to suck up and continually push on these trucks. And you also want to watch out for the engine temps here tonight, Cisco. These trucks can heat up very fast, and it's going to be interesting to see how drivers handle this truck in a pack, because this is the first time we'll see the trucks here this week. We've seen a bunch of other series here, but the trucks definitely different dynamic here at the wild card race at Talladega.
Yeah, absolutely. We call it a wild card for a reason, of course. This is the track where, well, as we say, anybody can get a win here, and that's because of the draft, and we'll see plenty of that later on. But before then, let's take a look at our point standings coming into tonight, and it's a great lead for Aaron Bennett. Despite the fact he didn't win the race, he led the most laps, got the pole. So right now, he currently leads your championship. Scott Simley, who was the guy who actually won the race, he's second in the points, only 1 point behind. Then you got Michael Waters as well as Greg Mall, and then of Shane Hawther, Steve Herring, the 22 of Seth Foundy, Robert Gillenwater, and Dwayne Dunn in the 39. Those are the players left chasing that championship, Chris. And tonight, well, this is going to be the best shot for a lot of these guys to come out here and get a win. Some of these guys lower down on the table haven't had the opportunities this season. This is the opportunity for those guys to jump ahead in the points and maybe get a little bit of an advantage, force those guys to maybe have to race a little bit harder next week.
Yes, Cisco, and we're going to be talking about points a whole lot tonight, because if you take a look at the round of 9 and other series, you'll see that wins are what get you in, the win and you're in factor, but that's not a factor here in the USR Truck Series. Points are where it's all at, and right now Aaron Bennett narrowly sitting on top of the board, so you're going to be looking for people like Dwayne Dunn, Robert Gillenwater, who are 25 and 26 points back, that you're going to be looking for them to try to use this wild card race to their advantage and get up there in the points and maybe have a fighting shot at this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. And some of these guys like Dwayne Dunn, they just need a good run, period. I mean, Dunn came into this championship, was one of the last guys to be able to sneak his way in, barely made it through the cutoff, as did Steve Herring. Herring had an excellent race 1 week ago at Charlotte and is looking to improve on that. But Dwayne Dunn, talk about a guy, he's fighting for his life tonight. This is going to be his best opportunity to make sure he makes it into the round of 6. But, well, we talk about this draft package here, and it's something a little bit unique to us here on the sim. Each of the cars in the NASCAR series have a very different draft model. You see the A cars, or what we would call the Monster Energy Cup cars. That draft model is a little bit different to the Xfinity Series cars or the B cars. And in the trucks, this is arguably one of the best and closest racing that you'll see on a plate track, Chris. These trucks, they stay together.
They definitely do, and it makes it hard for these cars to push with this draft order, which really keeps them close tight, because you can't really get too much bump drafting done, and you can't really pass that well. So you'll see all these drivers. You won't see any set of cars kind of pull away. You'll see them all kind of jockeying for position, and that's normally where we see most of our wrecks here at Talladega is in the truck series, just because of how close they are together.
Yeah, absolutely the case here, but we're just waiting for qualifying to get set up here. But Chris, you know, what are you expecting to see out of some of these drivers who have to have good runs here? Is that desperation going to force them to be up front?
It's not going to force them per se too early, Cisco. We have 94 laps here tonight at Talladega, and as you and I both know, that's a ton of time to get what you need done. So I don't see they're going to be pushing too hard at the beginning, but the desperation is definitely there. You're going to see people making moves that you wouldn't necessarily see, because this is the middle race of our 3-race run of the round of 9. This is where, if you're 25, 26 points down, or even 21 like Seth Bowdy, this is the race you want to do your best at.
Absolutely is the case, Chris. But qualifying session just wrapping up a little bit later than what I expected. But let's take a look at your LSRTV starting grid. Justin Michaels got the pole right now with the time of 53.574. To his outside is going to be Jamie Walker. Watch him tonight in that 17, always fast in this series. Then right behind him, Ashton Crowder. And talk about a guy who's been all over the place this season. He's had a couple run-ins, made his return to the series at Dover, a little bit of drama there. And to his outside, his teammate in the 1, Jason Jacoby. 5th is going to be Jeff Ryan, and then 6th is going to be Michael Atkins Jr. 7th, Tommy Ryan, and that number 6, always a threat. 8th is going to be Justin Lisenby. 9th is going to go to the 5, the Mother's Day tribute car for Chris Gabot. And rounding out your top 10, Ralph Vandervorst in that 66.
The 11 and 12 machines of Shane Hawthorne and Greg Maul going to be starting 11th and 12th. Robert Gillenwater is going to be 13th. Justin Kleiber in that 93. He's going to be 14th. 15th belongs to Ricky Howell Jr. 16th is going to be Keith Butt. Dwayne Dunn, we talked about how big it is of a race for him tonight. He's going to be starting 17th. 18th is going to be Scott Formosa and that 42 machine, who we saw do really well at Charlotte last week. That Matt Maher is going to be 19th. Rounding out your top 20, Bobby Terrell.
Bobby Terrell here, who got knocked out of the chase. He was really fast, but just couldn't keep up. Randy Tesser is going to be 21st. 22nd going to go to Scott Simley in the 68. 23rd is going to go to Seth Foudy. Michael Waters is going to be 24th. 25th is going to go to the 04 Brian Cutts. Then we talk about the guys who are in provisional land here. 26th, Aaron Bennett. 27th, Skylar Grissom. He's in the 114, so just keep a note of that. We have the pound sign on the stream tonight. 28th is going to be Michael Priester. 29th is going to be George Hendricks. 30th to Michael Warren. Michael Waite is going to be 31st, and Stephen Herring starting shotgun on the field, also in provisional land. That'll round out 32 trucks. But Chris, well, we've done it several times this week. Why don't we talk about this Talladega Superspeedway, located in Lincoln, Alabama, just down the road from Talladega, built in 1969 by Mr. Bill France himself. 2.666 miles, 4.28 kilometers, and of course, tricky pit road. And then we talk about that banking. 4 stories of banking here, Chris. This in Daytona put on some of the most exciting racing, but it also allows anybody to go up there and win this thing.
It definitely does, and you know, pace laps 2.66 miles, Cisco, so we have a long time to talk about this racetrack. It's such a great racetrack, and it's where you'll see a lot of people who really don't have a shot at many other tracks get a win, and we saw that in the Monster Energy Cup Series with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. picking up his win, and he's got a lot of things to come for it. So this is the race. We call it a wild card, but it can definitely play big for your season.
And of course, the 2 headlines we have to talk about. Of course, we'll jump into the metaphor now. When Big Bill France, of course, built this speedway, he wanted to sell those tickets down towards turn 1 there. So he decided, hey, let's move the start-finish line away from the tri-oval. So of course, always a little bit of a caricature of this racetrack. And of course, we talk about the big one, how it always lurks here. It took RSR, well, it took them a whole green flag run until they finally had it. Same with Super Speedway Cup. Chris, these trucks, they're a little bit closer together. It makes that big one just a little bit more of an ominous threat for these guys. Do you think we're going to see it early, or are these guys going to be able to outlast the big one?
And that's really a tricky question here, Cisco. You're going to have to pay attention to how these cars start here at the green flag, which we're about ready to take. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to say it's going to happen towards the end, but we'll just have to see.
We'll just have to see. But as the field rounds off turn 4, the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car going to make its left turn onto pit road and leave the field in the hands of Justin Michael. We're going a long distance tonight here at Talladega, and thanks for tuning in to watch it live right here on LSRTV. The green flag's in the air, and we're racing from Talladega.
Jamie Walker going to be 3 wide with Jason Jacoby and Ashton Crowder. Jamie Walker going to the back. Interesting strategy call by that 17 starting on the front row. He's getting to the back quick. Still 3 wide coming off of turn 2 as they head down the backstretch. Jason Jacoby's going to be pushed by that 44 Michael Atkins Jr. and he's going to get a huge bump down the back straightaway, and they're wrecking Jason Jacoby around, and it looks like the big one happened in turn 1. Huge cars. A lot of cars piling up on the backstretch.
I have seen a lot of wrecks in my racing career, Chris. And we talked about the big one. We knew it was lurking. I just didn't think it was going to happen this early. First caution. We can't even make it up to 4th gear here. And what happened? It looked like the 27s. We get the replay on your screen right now. The one goes up to the top side, and Justin Michael, I think, thought he was going to be able to clear the one there. Comes up the racetrack, and, well, the only other thing I can think of is maybe he got turned off the front bumper of the 88, but apart from that, a very odd sudden right turn for Justin Michael, and next thing you know, parking lot at Talladega. Man, it's kicking off early here, Chris.
It definitely is, and it's one of those instances where you see of the 88 just getting on the back bumper and just getting too close to that left rear, sending him right up into Jason Jacoby, and just everyone had nowhere to go. This track is wide, but when there's cars going everywhere, you can't really get it slowed up. You'll see here a lot of people on the brakes in this wreck, but honestly, just nowhere to go. And one heartbreaker for that, the 39 of Dwayne Dunn involved in that, spinning down the back straightaway. So very unfortunate for that driver.
And you know what, the trucks, you think you're able to get away with a little bit of, pushing and shoving or whatever, but, well, apparently that wasn't the case. Whatever, the 87 got a huge shot to that truck, and as we saw in the replay on board, I mean, the 88, for all intents and purposes, ran him over there. So, well, this is going to be starting early here, but truck's already down pit road, and, well, they're kind of waffling a bit because, well, we were getting ready to talk about a race, and suddenly all our storylines just got taken out in one wreck. So definitely odd start to the race here, Chris, but trucks down pit road already, probably to get a lot of damage repair for these guys. You already see some of the trucks on pit road, the 44 of Atkins Jr. You see the 31 coming down, taking tires, the 6. The 88 did stay out of Jeff Ryan here, and I would only assume that, I believe, based on the penalty system, he's probably going to get sent to the back here. But as a result, talk about the 17 wanted to get out of harm's way. We saw him go to the top side of the racetrack there. And if we go find the 17 on track, he's on pit road right now, but he may have gotten one of the biggest breaks ever. And wow, he got lucky.
Yeah, definitely. He saw it way before we even saw it there, Cisco. I'm at a loss for words. I didn't expect the big one to happen on lap 1, but I guess if there was a bright side to this tragic wreck here on the back straightaway, it would be that they got it done early. I'm not going to put out that there's not room for another big one, because there definitely is. We had it on lap 1. That means there's a whole 90 laps left to make a big one, and it's just going to be interesting to see. I never expected that to happen coming down the back straightaway, and the back straightaway of all places, definitely a hard one to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, I had all my notes here talking about you can't push the left rear in the corners, you have to watch the engine, all that sort of stuff. No, that was just, I mean, it looked like a flat turn from where we were sitting. The 87 just got a little bit of a ride taken by the 88. You see the damage on the Bojangles Chevrolet down there, kind of the war wound, as it were, and unfortunately for him, he's going to go down pit road here, probably to get that repaired. That's going to give the lead over to the Mother's Day machine of Chris Gabot in that number 5, and everyone else, for the most part, looks like a couple more trucks heading down pit road, probably to get more damage repair. I wouldn't be surprised. So 3 of Bennett, he's going to be down. The 64 Priester, actually everyone coming back down pit road, probably to fill up on that fuel cell. You may as well, because how much of the field got taken out in that wreck. But if you made it through that thing, Chris, you're probably going to be good to go for this race.
Yeah, it's if I could get it out, yes, you're pretty good. You're pretty set up. You might want to check and see if that horseshoe is still there, because that was definitely a tough one to miss. Chris Cabot missed it. It looks like Ashton Crowder kind of got through it. He was up there in it, but looks like he may have missed the damage for the most part. So he's going to be sitting up there in second. Definitely going to be a wild restart here, especially with the restart we just had going off down the back straightaway. I hope these drivers take back and take a deep breath in and relax a little bit. Don't push too hard, because if you just got to finish this race if you want any points.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best case scenario for all these guys, honestly, for a wreck that big, it probably is a good thing that it happened going down the backstretch turn or lap 1, because these trucks weren't fully up to speed at that point, Chris. They were just getting into 4th gear, coming off the banking out of 2 when that wreck happened. Some of those guys probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they were in 3rd gear for that wreck. So, you know, the lower speed, a little bit less damage to those trucks. We're not seeing the torn up sheet metals we're used to seeing here at the plate track when these big wrecks happen. Certainly there are trucks that did not benefit from that wreck at all, but a lot of these guys able to not completely destroyed. I mean, we look at the trucks on pit road, the 93, the 4, the 33, they don't look ultimately that bad. Probably more powertrain damage than anything else, but could have been a lot worse. Could have been trucks blown over, but instead, well, it kicked off early, and I believe we're actually going to see if we can step in and catch up with the driver of the 87. Justin, it's Cisco up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Well, we're a little befuddled right here. What happened?
I'm not sure. I got turned going in a straight line, and he pretty much junked the entire field, it looks like, from the replay. So I'm still not understanding what happened.
Well, that's about what it looked like for us, Justin, but you got rest of the race to go here. Are you guys going to be able to get that truck repaired and sent back out?
Nah, 30-minute repair. There's no way. Nah, I'm done for the night.
Yeah, really unfortunate for you guys in the 87, but Justin, we'll let you go here, field getting back to green, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. You guys have a good night.
Well, there you have it, Chris. We won the explanation. There it is. 88 ran over the 87. It was game over to begin with. So you have to feel for the 87, but, well, we still have a whole 89 laps to go once they take the green flag here, Chris. You have to put all that aside. If you're anyone involved in that wreck who still has a truck, you have to put that aside and say, all right, focus. We still have almost the full race to go here. Mindset doesn't change. Definitely,
Cisco. And just a little bit of a note, Talladega can produce some pretty hot tempers, and the 87 of Justin Michael did not seem like the happiest of campers during that interview. Like he mentioned, not even getting to run the truck a whole lap, and I'm going to say there's a whole lot of other drivers out there on the track not too happy with Jeff Ryan, so we're definitely going to have to watch that as the race goes on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a little bit of payback was on the menu for some of these guys. But Chris Cabot, well, he's got control of the field now. I don't think he was expecting to be up front for what is basically the restart of this race. But the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car going to make its left-hand turn back to pit road. And for Chris Cabot and Ashton Crowder, they're just waiting for that green flag. The 5 going to wait on the loud pedal in the restart zone. There he goes. Green flag back in the air. We are re-green from Talladega.
As we get up through the gears going down into turn 1, one driver that I said got involved in that wreck seemed to have got the damage fixed at 39 of Dwayne Dunn. He's all the way up in the 5th position right now on the outside of that 80 machine of Scott Formosa. Ashton Crowder going to fall right back in line with the little bit of room he had, and that's going to drop the 39 machine back a few positions as the inside line is moving going down the back straightaway.
Yeah, inside line doing a lot right there. You got 2 trucks up on the outside. It looks like one of the HBS trucks. It's going to be the 64 Priester, actually, and then the 39 have done up on that high side. They're getting a bit of a run up there, a little bit of a tandem working for those guys as they come through 3 and 4 right now. And you're able to do that with these trucks, but really what works is that 3-truck tandem, and we're starting to see it right now. The 4808 decided to go up there. Well, he ran out of time, didn't do quick enough, so he's going to get shot to the Earnhardt Suckler hole down the middle. So, well, first lap led under green. It's going to go to Chris Gabeau, and he's going to get his first lap led, well, his fourth lap led, but the first one under green. But Wade's still stuck in the middle of the racetrack there. Hasn't quite gone to the back of the field, but that basically forced the 39 to 64. They lost all their momentum up on that top side, and they're falling back in the pack as the 5 continues to hold that bottom line.
And he's doing a great job, and that's what you have to do here at Talladega, just hold the bottom line, because it produces it's the fastest way around the track. It's basically common sense, and with that outside not quite hooked up yet, the 39 is going to keep falling back. I want to give a quick note to one driver who benefited huge off that wreck. We mentioned him going 3 wide down the back straightaway the last time by Michael Waite. Started 31st in this field, and he's now up to 4th, and behind him, Michael Priester started 28th, so they're moving up through the field. They're just some of the few people that's benefited from this wreck here early on.
Yeah, absolutely. We said anyone can win this race, and that's really helping some of the guys who were in the back who were able to get on the brake pedal for that wreck. They weren't even close to getting involved in it, and as a result, they survived for the most part. But Wade actually going to get spit down to the infield there a little bit. He was able to hold on to it there. And I think what's happening, these guys, they look to that inside for air, but the one guy who isn't looking for air right now is that 64 Priester. He's been stuck behind that 39 since the onset of this run here, and Priester trying to do everything he can. Now Crowder going to try and go up to the top, not going to be able to block the run, and here comes the 39 and Dunn.
And that's the second time, Cisco, that somebody's tried to pull up in front of Dunn and try to get their run, and they're just moving so fast and so quick around Talladega that everybody's misjudging, and it looks like almost going to be clear of Chris Gabeau going down into turns 1 and 2, but not quite. That inside run is going to prevail this time by. They're going to get a shove down the back straightaway. They're going to be even going down the back straightaway. The Alabama gang super stretch, as we like to, as it's famously known, going off into turn 3. It looks like Dwayne Dunn's going to be clear as Ashton Crowder jumps up to the high line, leaving Chris Gabeau all out to dry.
Yeah, Crowder jumped up as well as the 48 was able to catch up to the back bumper, but the 39 doing an excellent job on that top side, really leading the field around here. And for Dunn, he really needs this run. He was involved in the wreck, but didn't have enough damage to really risk that truck, so he's able to head back out. And as a result, he's leading this field. We talked about the guy who probably needed a really good run here, that 39 truck. He's definitely the guy to watch here, and that is really helping him right now.
It definitely is, and don't look now. Look who it is. It was involved in the beginning of the wreck early on. Jason Jacoby in that Domino's drill spill Toyota Tundra. He's up in the top 10, and he's making a run for it. He's not going to let that wreck discourage him. He got a lot of damage fixed, and that draft is really helping these drivers out. So he's going to be up there fighting for position, as he's now going to be inside of Dwayne Dunn.
Yeah, going to be to the inside of the 39 right there. But Scott Simley tried to jump up to that outside, get it running. I think it shuffled everyone else out. They weren't expecting it. Everyone backed down the throttle. So the 68 all alone up there on the top side. And he's going to need a little bit more help if he's going to hope to get back up to the front of this field. Help is coming in the 39, but it's a little ways off. So for the 68 of Simley, he's kind of stuck up there. Going to drop to the inside here on that bottom line. But the 5 and the 64 of Priester, biggest beneficiary of using that top side thus far, did a really good job. And Gabeau now going to jump to the outside. Here comes the 80 of Formosa, the 68 of Simley, and everyone just left Priester down there on the bottom. The only one to go with him was the 31.
Yeah, and that 31's going to get there just in time to keep that 80 of Scott Formosa from clearing him, and Chris Gabeau really wanted that 80 car to come down with him, so Priester's going to be challenging back on the inside. We're going through the trioval this time. He's not going to be quite there. Gabeau going to be clear going this time. Is he going to pull down? It doesn't seem like it. Gabeau really wants to take that 80 machine with him, and it's not really working out. That 31 of Justin Lizard is going to be right there where it matters, and just keeping them honest going down into turns 1 and 2.
Keeping them honest, doing a great job up there is the 5 of Gabeau as they come down the back straightaway right now. And he's going to try and do everything he can. You see the lap trunk up there, the SpongeBob machine. That's Seth Foudy up there, one of the detractors from that wreck there. Lost a lot of time there. We see Lowe on the bottom. He's 20-30. That's where he started, but I don't think he wanted to finish back there. And such is the luck for the big one. But for the most part, he's going to be able to let those guys pass. But a lot of trucks on the bottom side, just letting the field go here, not really risking that top side. I think after what happened, Chris, I'm not terribly surprised by that.
No, not surprised at all as they're still side by side for the lead. This is exactly what Talladega Racing can produce. Just great side by side action for laps on end, and it's only going to get better from here. There's going to be more drivers trying to pull away, as right now we're having a 6-car breakaway, it looks like, from the pack all the way back to the 98 of Steve Herring. So it looks like we have a 6-car breakaway for the time being. They're definitely going to have to get sort of back there if they want to catch up, because if you get out of this draft and how this draft model works here in this trucks, if you get back even the slightest, you might as well just kiss it goodbye.
Yeah, you're absolutely right here, Chris. Coming down the front straightaway right now, and the 98 of Steve Herring is kind of in that zone right now. He hasn't completely lost touch with that front pack, but he's not up there either. He's probably going to need a little bit of help. Jacoby's going to be the first truck probably to get to him and be able to help the 98 get back up there. The 98, of course, another one of these drivers had a really good run last week at Charlotte, looking for another good run here, and you know, he's one of these guys, maybe a dark horse coming into this chase, always characteristically doesn't qualify the truck, always starts in the on the provisional in the back of the field here. No different for Steve Herring, game plan as usual, and as a result, well, guess what? He missed the wreck.
Yeah, and as we were talking about that 98 machine, we've had the lead change, and finally the 80 and the 5 of Chris Cabot were able to get around the Michael Priester as they leave Scott Simley all out to dry on the outside line, and you'll just see that 68 machine drop like a rock all the way back behind the 48 and Michael Waite. The 64 and the 31 ended up getting a little bit discombobulated going off into turns 3 and 4, and that's all it takes here at Talladega for that outside line to get a run, and that's exactly what we saw here coming off of turn 2. Chris Cabot, your new leader.
Yeah, Cabot did a great job getting up to the front here, Chris. And now down the back straightaway, it looks like truck's trying to take a look to the outside. And you see the 48 of Waite doing it again here. He really wants to make that outside work, but just no one going with the low Chevrolet right now. Still on the top side. 68 could go with him, not going to do it. The 48's going to drop back in line. So everyone parading down on the bottom. But you see the one back there, Jason Jacoby, trying to make that second line work. He's got done up there, as he did have Ashton Crowder. These guys were at the front of field on the restart here, Chris, but they probably dropped to the back here, considering the circumstances. Probably want to ride out some of this race.
And no riding out going on at the front here. Cisco look at a battle for the lead again. This time they've switched positions. It's going to be Priester on the outside, Gaboa on the inside. Priester's getting a huge push from that 48 machine of Waite, as Priester liked what that 48 was doing and thought, hey, I'm going to go with you. Now Justin Lisenby going to jump to the top, and this is all it takes to get a revolution going, as I like to call it, at Talladega. The outside line going to start moving. Lisenby going to duck back down in. He's not fully committed, but he has options.
And Lisenby looking, another driver not in the chase here, but looking for a good run here. These guys, some of these plate track specialists, some of these guys just because they missed the wreck. But either way, for Lisenby here, I mean, he started 8th, so not a bad qualifying time by the 31. He's been able to miss the wreck and is up here in this race right now. Looks like he's got a little bit of damage, but for the most part, that 31 truck looks pretty stable for the most part. And meanwhile, it doesn't look like that Revolution up on the top side really going to be able to do a whole lot. The 48, he's trying, but he just can't stay to the back bumper, because if he does, Chris, he's just going to blow up the motor, and that's a good way to get yourself a one-way ticket to the exit ramp.
And it's easily done here at Talladega. So we're looking now, I'm looking at this 68 of Scott Simley, who's barely hanging on to this pack. He was able to close it in just a little bit, but we're seeing a lot of these cars fall off. If you're at the end of that lead pack, you got to stay on it. You can't let off, because the second you do, you're gonna drop like a bag of rocks, and it's going to be interesting to see if that 68 machine can get up there. Steve Herring still in that area, as you like to call it, Cisco. He's not quite lost it, but he's not quite there. The closest car to him, that's going to be Greg Mall, and he's 2/10 off of him. So it's going to be interesting. If Steve Herring wants to get back up to that lead pack, he needs to drop back, give it up, drop back to Greg Mall so they can push their way back up there, because right now he's not gaining any time just sitting there.
He's not, and I'm wondering for the 98 if that's just how he wants to be, no one around him. It's certainly not a bad strategy at Talladega considering the circumstances. I just want no one around me. You know, you take that idea when you drive on the expressway. Oh, I don't want to be around the semis. I don't want to be around the rest of the traffic in those packs. And I think the 98 is thinking that logic right now, but he is going to get swallowed up, as you said, by the 12 of Greg Mall. He's been leading that second pack. You see the 94 of Terrell, the 6 of Tommy Ryan, and then of course the 4 of Dylan Water. A lot of experience back in that pack here. Those guys seeing if they can wait out the storm. The question is, will we have another storm? These guys waiting to the back here. I think at one point, Chris, if they want to make a run to this lead, they're going to be able to do that. They have the horsepower back there. They really don't have to worry about losing them.
They really don't, Cisco, and that's probably what they're doing. You probably hit the nail right, or the nail right on the head there, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can get back up there and how they're going to push up to the front and win. It's always the win. But with that time by, we're going to put 20, the position 20 off the lead lap, as there's now 19 cars on the lead lap here. They just went by Randy Tesser through 3 and 4. Priests are going to be leading this run as they were able to get by Chris Cabot, who's pretty much stranded. He has no help. It's going to be kind of a 3-car breakaway now, as back there Scott Formos is looking to close that gap right up.
Yeah, absolutely. That second pack all of a sudden have just lost complete touch with where they were before. They went 2 by 2 there. You see the 98 of Herring up on the top side, the 31 of Lisenby, the 94 of Terrell, and the 12 of Mall. They started racing a little bit, and we talk about how that single file line, if they stay single file, they'll be able to catch the leaders, no problem. They just have a huge horsepower advantage. I mean, you look, you got 5 trucks in the lead pack versus probably at least 10 back here in this second pack. Not really much of a problem there, Chris, but if they're going side by side, they're not going to go anywhere.
The only place they're going to go is back, Cisco, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. We now have a 5-car breakaway. Chris Cabot trying to start something on the outside line, but there's just not enough drivers up there. There's only 5 cars, and if there's 5 cars up there, that means they're doing something right, and they don't want to change it. They're just trying to ride and keep everything going. Now you see the 48 jump out, maybe trying to get some air on that truck, as he's been all over the back bumper of Priester for a while. So that 48 is going to surrender the second position, moving Chris Cabot up there to the inside, and that 48 is going to drop in. Maybe no, he's not going to be clear of Scott Formos at that time, so he's going to find himself right behind that 68 of Scott Simler.
Yeah, he is, and these guys have to worry because you look behind the 48 of Wade, and all of a sudden that second pack, like I said, all they had to do was go single file to catch these guys, and well, look what happened. They went single file for maybe just over a lap because they're already going double file again with Jacoby up on the top side. But even then, the drill spill boys decided, hey, no, we do want to catch the leaders after all. A little bit dicey back there with the 55 lap traffic of Waters, but for the most part, those guys up on the top side trying to do everything they can to catch these leaders, and they're going to do it here. It looks like that only 5 truck pack. They just don't have the horsepower. They cannot run away from this second pack.
Especially when they're all double filed, you know, switching you got to watch the switch here, as I'm going to call it. When you get too hot, you got to get out, go to the back of the line and move one up. You get disconnected, and just like that, you can be swallowed up by the pack that has just now made their way. Look at the 27 of Crowder all over the back bumper of Jacoby. They're going to be flying by this inside line as they're still trying to get connected up. So Chris Cabot going to be all over Michael Priester, but I don't think it's going to do it. Michael Waite's going to jump out, try to get their drop. They're going to be side by side coming through turns 1 and 2. The 27 and the 1 are on a mission.
Yeah, they absolutely are, Chris. And you have to remember, the 1 and 27, teammates through and through. Those guys run together as a team. They run in other leagues as a team. They run an official as a team. So those guys know each other very well. You have some of the teammates here in USR. They're just teammates for the series. We talk about Scott Simley. He's a guy who runs on a different team for RSR. He runs on a different team in USR. A couple different organizations he's a part of. Maybe a little bit of a disadvantage, but you saw what a push the 1 got from the 27 of Crowder. Those guys worked together perfectly, and it got the 27 out front, as it did the 1, and the 1 is going to lead his first lap of the race. Finally, after what was an eventful start for the race for Jason Jacoby, he's able to make it back to the front. New leader, Domino's.
Yeah, and he's going to have to hold off that 64. Michael Priester is now Ashton Crowder's on the back bumper of that 64. Jason Jacoby dropped down, left that 27 out to dry. He dropped all the way back to Michael Waite, and now they're going to be pushing Michael Priester as they maybe get clear of Jason Jacoby, and they will. That's going to move the 27 and the 64 up 1-2. Now Michael Waite's going to drop like we've seen him do so many times before. Nobody's just wanting to work with that 48 machine. He cannot catch a break early on.
Yeah, no one working with the 48, and, you know, he was able to get some help up on the top side, but those were just guys who wanted to go to the front. I mean, we talk about teammates. The 64 Priester seems like he's found a very good pusher in the 48, but the problem is he keeps leaving him on that top side. Here comes Aaron Bennett, though, in the 3, and I talk about those guys who are teammates, that Young Gun Motorsports drivers. We talk about guys like the 17, guys like the 3. That's another kind of one of those bigger teams. They race with each other a little bit more than some of the other teams in the series. They can work together very well, and right now the 3 fast friends with the 48 because Wade's getting a huge push to that lead.
Yeah, and Aaron Bennett's going to make me eat my words here going down the back straightaway and into turns 3 and 4. He was all over the back bumper of that 48 machine, and that 3 Bass Pro Shops truck is moving as he's trying to get the push up on the back bumper of Michael Wake to get him past Michael Priester, but Ashton Crowder so good on these restrictor plates, and I've seen him do it time and time again. He's so good at pushing and controlling the speed and controlling the line. He only pushes when he has to. That way he saves as much stuff as he can for the end of the run. You never want to overheat your engines or you're going to be down on power, and it's just going to go bad from there, and it's going to be out of your hands.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. And the 48, at this point, he's kind of, like you said, he's in the 3's hands here. And for Aaron Bennett, the main problem for him is that, as we've seen a couple laps going around the track, and as we've seen all throughout this season, and we'll break the fourth wall a little bit on the whole broadcasting thing, the 3 doesn't quite have the internet connection everyone else does, and as a result, you'll see that truck blink out every once in a while or kind of shift, just like what we saw right there. And that's going to disrupt the push ever so slightly to that 48 of weight. He's not going to be able to get the huge push. He got it right there, but the problem is for these guys around that 3 truck, they have to be very careful because the 3, if he disappears, next thing you know, he could be on your corner and all of a sudden big wreck.
Yeah, and I was able to talk to that 3 of Aaron Bennett before the broadcast here tonight. He was talking to me about those issues there, Cisco, and how he couldn't even be pushed without being turned down into the corners. So as you see him drop all the way up to the 3rd line, he's going to move out of the way, and that's going to move Scott Simley all the way up to the lead after that jumble, and Dwayne Dunn to 2nd. So Dwayne Dunn, he was up here early on, fell back, and now look at him as pit stops are happening here. Dwayne Dunn, Michael Wade going down pit road, green flag pit stops underway.
Yeah, pit stops going down the 48. 39 really locked it up. Everyone very close down pit road. We'll let you know if anyone sped, but for the most part, it looked like everyone throughout that first pack was able to make it down pit road fairly safely. I'm not seeing any trucks having to wait on time, so I think these guys are going to be okay. It looks like the 5 lost his pit box a little bit right there, but now we wait for that second pack of trucks, and they come down the back straightaway right now. The 68 leads that kind of still lead back, I would think, Chris, with the way the pit stops are going to run here. These guys run a limited fuel cell. Probably going to see these guys down this lap as well.
Yeah, you can't afford to wait out too long. You're just going to start losing time to those guys who've already pit. And at Talladega, it's huge because if you find yourself behind, as we see all these drivers, Scott Simley and company come down, Talladega, it's huge. Time is always a factor at Talladega with how big it is, because if you find yourself back even a few seconds, you're already off and you're already down. And it's going to be an uphill mountain to climb here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The 68, for the most part, that group looked a little more composed coming down pit road than the first group did, so we'll have to see. We'll stay with this group as they leave pit road because we want to see how this cycles out. You see Tommy Ryan listed as the leader. He's got the pit box furthest up pit road for everyone. You see the 55 lead early, and remember, he is a lap down truck. He just came down with these guys, but he's not in this pack. So he's going to leave this group early, coming back on track, going through 1 and 2 right now, and all alone up there, the first truck that really has help, and surprise, surprise, it's the 12 and the 3 teammates, Young Gun Motorsports. They're coming around turns 1 and 2 right now. They're together, and then you see a pack back. You see 3 trucks right there, the 94, a Terrell, the 6, a Ryan, and the 98, a Simley, and meanwhile, you see the 1 and the 27, that's the other pack. Remember, they were part of that first pack who pit. Teammates working out early, but it looks like it's going to work out for the Young Gun guys. They're going to lead right now. Maul and the 3 of Bennett doing very well so far.
They definitely are, and you see the drill spill teammates working together once again. Ashton Crowder, it's going to be interesting to see how they work together, because they're pretty much alone right now going down into the tri-oval, but they've shown tremendous power going on here, and it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers work together, because this is where the engine power comes into play, Cisco, where you don't never want to push too hard with everybody so spaced out and everybody trying to gain time and get back up to the lead pack. This is where you're going to see engine troubles the most.
Exactly, and the 3 really has nowhere to go. He can't cool that motor, and well, meanwhile the 2 and the 1 and the 27 rather, they just came flying by here. Whole head of steam up on the top side, and it's drill spill to the lead once again. Jason Jacoby pushed by his teammate Ashton Crowder, and they're going to try and clear the Young Gun Motorsports drivers, the 3 and the 12. It's going to happen. Both trucks down. 27 has to make sure he doesn't cut off his teammate. Oh, he's actually going to, and the 27 just kicked his teammate up to the top side. Maybe a little bit of a switch there. Yep, that's exactly what it was. And well, welcome back 2012. We got tandems rolling here, Chris.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I expected here, and I expected everything to stay pretty uniform, as we got 3 wide racing now, as Bobby Terrell is going to be jumping up onto that 3rd lane with Scott Formosa right behind him. So we're going to be 3 wide down the back straightaway for the lead, only on lap 31. Cisco going down into turns 3 and 4. Those Young Gun Motorsports drivers trailing off on that inside, as Drill Spill is going to be powering up the middle. Jason Jacoby's going to be there. Ashton Crowder is going to try to close in, and you see the 94 trying to get that side draft coming off of 4.
Yeah, and the 27, that was in terms of swapping, which, keep in mind, we haven't seen swapping in this series for a very long time. The last time we really saw it was back with the old truck, back around 2013 or so. So for these guys, you know, swapping for the lead back and forth to cool this motor, you know, it's kind of an ancient technique now, Chris. We don't really see this anymore, but those guys did it perfectly. I have to think that's something probably they practiced.
And it's something I hinted at early on in the broadcast, because I was on iRacing when the switch was a thing, racing back in the trucks where the switch was a regular thing, and it just shows how hard these drivers want it and how big Talladega is to these drivers and how much they want to do well. You know, the one of Jason Jacoby not really in the chase, but he's got nothing to lose, and he's going to be up there basically making all the moves he can to stay up there with his teammate Ashton Crowder, who's leading the race right now. So they're doing a phenomenal job, but look at Greg Mull kind of shading to the outside, maybe trying to hint at his teammate that he wants to go up there to the outside, but everybody's going to stay single file as it is.
Maybe just trying to pull the 1 off, pushing the 27 here just to mess with him a little bit. Maybe try and see if they can get a defensive line out of that Domino's machine. Like a couple trucks up on the top side, lap down. That's the 88 of Jeff Ryan, and he has found a friend in the 42, but those guys laps down, not really going to be a factor in this race. Meanwhile, we still see this pack a single file, and I think these guys just content to ride right now, so they're going to be happy just to sit on that bottom line, not race, not have to worry about anything, because the position they're in right now, as we take a look at the top 10 right now, top 8, all those guys in that pack. Steve Herring, once again, kind of in no man's land off this pack, as is the 6 of Ryan, but top 8, they're all together in the pack. Next pack is Robert Gillenwater. He's 9th place position right now. We'll flash back and look at that second pack here. That's about 3-4 trucks. That's the 4, the 39, the 68. And the 48. So a bunch of chase drivers involved back there. The first 3 actually all chase drivers. The 4, the 39, the 68. Of course, you keep my eye on that. Guys with the yellow numbers on the ticker, those are your chase drivers you have to watch out for. But for the most part, single file up at the front of the field. And we're going to bring in Mr. Test Drive here. And we'll see if he's got his mic turned on. Mr. Evan Pisoko, back from the dealership. How's the test drive?
We're back, and I'm sorry that we missed it, but it's Talladega, so either way, I had to make sure I got back to at least get a good chunk of this racing.
Well, you did miss, and we do have to fill you in here, and, you know, full disclosure, Evan hasn't talked to us about what's been going on before, and basically, lap 1, off of turn 2, big one, and destroyed about half the field, Evan, so you missed that. But for the most part, green flag the rest of the way. These guys just finished green flag pit stops not all too long ago, and the 27-1 teammates at the lead right now.
And I was going to say, I had to have a little bit of a hunch hopping in 32 trucks. It's about, on par with what we're used to seeing here on Saturday nights. There's only 17 trucks left at the lead lap. So I think that I knew something was up. There's a lot of big names back there that did not have, obviously, the way that this race got kicked off like they wanted to. And I think that because of the fact that we got less trucks, that we've seen these guys, you were just talking about that second group with Gillenwater and Dunn and Silly and those guys being 6 seconds back. The lead pack's only 8 trucks long, and it's a single file line. So I think both of those factors in the fact that we have a lot less trucks on the racetrack, and that's why it's not one big pack up front. And the guys riding single file, to be fair, I missed a good chunk of time, but we're just past 1/3 distance into this thing, so I'm not necessarily completely against these guys just trying to ride around, especially because maybe that wreck really spooked them.
Yeah, I think it did, and we saw this Friday night as well, kind of riding in line, not hoping nothing happens here, but we'll just have to see how this pans out. But like you said, we're just approaching 1/3 distance, so we're going to take a moment and step aside, fill in Evan on what else he missed, and we'll bring you right back here to the United Sim Racing Truck Series right here on LSRTV. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back in just a little bit.
Really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, 3 wide action on a turn 2. Craig Kitzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the cars. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
Welcome back live to the Talladega Super Speedway, currently working under green flying conditions, not all that far from the halfway point in tonight's Talladega 250. Happy you're with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live for the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. Ashton Crowder, your race leader at the lap number 40 marker in this one. Chris, guys, on pit road not all that long ago, so kind of hard to say if things are really going to change up in the next couple of laps. The top 8, as noted, run in single file. You've got a secondary group of 4 drivers, 9th through 12th. They're 7.5 seconds back running single file, and I really can't honestly say why they would try to force a 2 wide. I think that considering the unfortunate circumstances around that big accident we saw back on lap number 1, that the guys up front right now are in a perfect position, and they should probably take it easy to make sure that, those top 8 kind of stick together and stay out well in front of the field. It's in their best interest to stay out of trouble. Running with 8 drivers, a lot less of a headache than running with all 16 that are on the lead lap still.
Yes, Evan, and you can't, like I was telling you under the break, you came back at a great time. We got Young Gun and Drill Spill leading the pack here, and they've been going at it. We've seen a lot of lead changes here tonight, Evan, and you came back at such a good point, just coming off a green flag pit stop, so you're going to get another great round of fresh racing here, and like you said, everybody going to be trying to take it easy, because to finish first, one must first finish, as we always like to say. So it's going to be interesting to see how long these drivers actually wait it out.
And I would have to think at least to the pit stops, because again, obviously at Talladega, you don't want to be double file and then rushing down, everybody getting down to the inside of the racetrack. But like I said, you could get a couple of guys, couple of teammates talking about the teams going, back and forth and so forth. Some guys maybe 5th and 6th in line up at the front here that might want to get up front, lead some laps, especially getting the nose out and clean air, never hurt anybody. But at least for the moment, the top 8 seem content. You're not going to win the race on lap 42. So I think that these guys rather happy. One driver that might have to be concerned, though, would be Stephen Herring, because oftentimes it can be difficult as the final truck in line to stay grouped up. You see the top 6, how they're nice and tight. That 7th truck, Tommy Ron, and that 8th truck, Stephen Herring, it's dropping back just a little bit, struggling to stay up in the draft as these top 8 continue to lead the field to the tune of 6 seconds. Tonight's coverage, though, of the BNC Lawn and Landscape and Truck Series and LSRTV and iRacing Live is brought to you by none other than BNC Lawn and Landscaping, based in Frankfort, Delaware. You can check out BNC for all your landscaping needs, including turf care, mulching, snow removal, and more. They are professional, licensed, and insured. And for more information, you can contact Aaron Bennett today at BC_lawn_and_landscaping at yahoo.com. Again, it's Aaron Bennett, BNC, for more information. So we're just a handful of laps away to this point from the halfway point, and obviously at that point we'll kind of give you a recap of all what has happened in what will be the opening about 47 or so laps of this race. We do cross the halfway point, and we'll take that opportunity when that comes to take a look at our iRacing Midway race break. This is a very large racetrack. Race leaders running 52-second lap time, so I was taking an eye on Shane Hawthorne and Justin Lisenby. The final 2 trucks scored on the lead lap at the moment. They're 31 seconds off of the top spot. That is a lot. But that's only about half a track length, really, behind the race leader. So they're not in immediate danger of losing a lead lap status. Something that we should note, though, talking about these top 8 guys trying to take it easy, they might be taking it too easy, Chris, because that group 9th on back have closed in about a 1.5 seconds at the last few laps. It's only a 5-second gap now.
Yeah, and you never want to take it too easy at Talladega. You always want to leave enough room to where you're not going to make any huge mistakes, but you never want to add more drivers to the mess, because that's just one more driver you have to worry about towards the end of the race or coming up towards pit stops, because these drivers coming up from 9th on back, they're looking to race. They're looking to get this race double file. That's why they're pushing so hard to get back up to this lead pack so they can race it out, and you never want that to happen. I mean, we're fresh off green flag pit stop, so it's not an immediate threat at this moment. But if I'm the drivers up front, I would be looking back and try to communicate with all the other drivers in this pack that, hey, we need to step it up a little bit and try to minimize the damage here with all these drivers catching up.
Lap traffic going to be on the outside of the racetrack. It is just one machine. It's the Chevrolet of Matt Mara, who scored in 21st spot. So that'll be 5 to now 6 laps down up on the outside of the racetrack. Making the right call, staying high and letting that single file line go through on the bottom. But I said the guys up front should take it easy because they want it to remain those 8. They don't want to accidentally tear up some of those trucks and bring somebody else into the conversation. But I don't think it's going to be those top 8 for long. I'm not sure if Gillenwater, Simply, Wait, and Dunn are going to be able to get to them before pit stop, simply because, sure, they're making up time, but it's often to the tune of 1 or 2 tenths per lap. That time, knocking off 2 tenths of a difference. Gillenwater with a 50.7, and it was actually 51.0 for Crowder, so 3 tenths. So even if you're making up 3 tenths, you're still looking at about 15 laps until these guys catch up to the guys up front. And if we get 2 pit stops before they catch them, then they'll find themselves in a spot where it might be a little bit hard trying to get some momentum built back up once they cycle back out on track. So if I'm these guys, I say push. Get up on each other. Take that little bit of extra risk if you want to catch up to these guys, because 4.5 seconds is doable, but you can't slack, and a little bit of miscommunication there with lap traffic going high as George Hendricks, but he made the move late, and a couple of trucks in line thought that he wasn't going to, and they all got a little bit out of shape there in 3 and 4.
Yeah, you saw Scott Semley and Michael Waite, the 2 drivers that you were mentioning, that went up high and then immediately yanked it back down low. That can always prove to be a huge mess if the lap traffic is all over the place, which they were in that corner, so they made it through that time by. But as you mentioned, these drivers in this pack are gaining, but it's only maybe about 2/10 per lap, and that's because all these trucks are so even. And I know we mentioned about the big one on lap 1, which is taking many trucks out or giving these drivers a little bit of damage. But with this draft model, Evan, it doesn't really matter. As long as you can keep that damage under about 30 seconds in the pits, you're good to go. That draft can carry you all the way along, and you never want to be on the end of that pack if you have damage, or in the front, because you're only going to slow those drivers down. So we're seeing some pretty fresh cars leading this second pack, but they're not really pushing, and I don't really blame them. You were talking about pushing and getting them up there, Evan, but I would want to save the stuff. Have as much engine power at the end of the day that you can, because if you get on these trucks and push for too long, you overheat the car, and then that's where the power starts to drop. So I'm seeing Scott Semley push down the back straightaways, but not that much in the corners or in the trial.
And we see a lot of, super speedway action here on LSRTV. In fact, we were just here at Talladega one night ago, with the Super Speedway Cup Series with the Cup cars. But I love these trucks. These trucks can go 2 and 3 wide. So don't think that it's a single file line at the moment because these trucks can't do anything. They'll get racy, but there's just, circumstantially speaking, no reason that these guys try to force the issue at what is now the halfway point from Talladega. So let's take this opportunity to take a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is your one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, and many more. 49 laps in the works right now from the Talladega Super Speedway, and Ashton Crowder is your race leader, followed by Jason Jacoby in second. The top 2 non-chase competitors leading the way at the halfway point. Then you've got Greg Mall running into the number 3 position, highest running chase driver to this point, and then a group of big movers. Aaron Bennett, fantastic night, plus 22 spots to run in the 4th spot, and behind him Bobby Terrell's picked up 15 positions to run inside of the top 5. Scott Frozen, the non-chase competitor, runs in 6th position. Tommy Ryan runs behind him. I believe our biggest mover to this point, Stephen Herring, has gone 32nd to 8th position. He runs just behind Robert Gillenwater, who runs at number 9 position, and Scott Semley rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, and it's always important to note those 2 top chase drivers, Scott Semley and Aaron Bennett. Scott Semley 10th, Aaron Bennett 3rd. Those 2, 1, 2 in points. But as for the rest of the grid, 11th's going to belong to Michael Waite. Dwayne Dunn's going to be 12th. Michael Priester's 13th. 14th, Chris Cabot. Shane Hopper is going to be 15th, 16th, and your last driver on the lead lap for the moment, that's going to be Justin Lisenby. Michael Water is going to be 1 lap down, and 17th, 18th belongs to Jeff Ryan. Andy Tester is going to be 19th, and rounding out your top 20, that's going to be Jamie Walker.
I think we got 2 more drivers on track. That would be 21st position Matt Mara. We just noted him a couple of laps ago. Is 6 laps down. He's been able to blend into the back of this lead pack, so he may be able to kind of stop the bleeding at 6 laps down, but definitely at quite the deficit. And then you got Seth Foudy in number 22 spot, who was 8 laps down. And actually, George Hendricks still on track, 12 laps down, running in 23rd, the driver the 34. The rest of these drivers, though, are out of this race and involved in that early accident. 24th position, Skylar Grissom. Justin Cleaver runs in 25th. You've got Ralph Van der Vorst, Keith Butt Justin Michael, Matt Latkins Jr., Ricky Howell all the way with 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. And then 31st for Michael Warren and 32nd Brian Cutts to round out the field. That is a look at your iRacing Midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. And again, you're running out of time, so make sure you go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. There's some exclusive promo codes that are going to be available for a limited time still. You can get yourself on iRacing with a 1-year membership for over 50% off the sticker price, or if you just want to give iRacing a try, you can get a 3-month membership for less than $5. There is no reason not to do it. It's iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. Race leaders, though, headed down pit side, lap 52, and Aaron Bennett going to make it side by side from second.
Yeah, pit stop's already underway, and what a perfect timing, just ending up the Midway race break and about halfway. So this is definitely when we'll see those drivers get in, as Aaron Bennett slides into his box and Greg Moss overshoots the box, actually has to back up, so that's going to cost that driver a ton of time on pit road. Robert Gillenwater right behind him, sideways in his box. So a lot of drivers not off to the pit stop that they were going to want, as we see them now going to be side by side off of pit road. Aaron Bennett's going to lead them off, then that 6 of Tommy Ryan behind him.
And they come off of the pit lane 2x2, nice and tightly packed together. And the key that we were talking about there before we took a look at all 32 trucks in tonight's field was if that secondary pack was going to be able to catch up to that lead pack before pit stops. That was the answer, yes. They were able to close that gap down, not within 2 seconds, but were more or less a part of that draft. So now once everybody cycles through, saw a couple of people go more so on the short pit strategy. We'll find out where everybody ends up. Looks like the first driver in line may be the 3 of Aaron Bennett, who is still working on getting that machine completely up to speed. He was just down to the pit lane this time by. Take a look at some lap drivers. Looks like pit cycle already complete. That one happened pretty quickly. To be fair, not a whole lot of trucks up on the lead packet in this thing still. Again, there's been quite the rate of attrition with that big one happening a little bit earlier on, but these guys did not slouch. They all came down, they got their service, and they got back out there.
Yeah, and I said it at the top of the broadcast, Evan, and I'll say it again. You know, they got the big one out early. They got the jitters out, and it's been green flag from there on out. That's now our second green flag pit stop of the night, and all these drivers are getting back up to speed, and it's about to get racy when we are just crossing this halfway point. This is when we start to see drivers get a little bit more amped up. They start to get their strategy set in and start to get moving, so to speak. So we'll see which drivers start moving up faster and who we haven't talked about to who we will start talking about. So this is where everything starts to fall into place.
And we're still, I think, a little bit shy from being able to kind of let these guys go, because coming down to the pit lane, in fact, this time by, going to be 40 laps to go. So just a little bit shy of that 40 to go marker, 43 or so on the board. Once I think everybody had completed service, that's still outside of the fuel window to be able to get to the end of this race. So we kind of find ourselves again in that tricky spot like we were on the last run, where we were just telling you there's really no huge incentive for these guys to start going 2 and 3 wide. You see that kind of action when you have 20 some odd trucks out there, just because you're not going to have a 20 car deep single file line. There's going to be an outside lane, and although they're side by side and sure battling for the race lead, the guys back a little bit further on that top line aren't really forcing the issue. You're not going to have enough trucks up top to make the outside really competitive unless you really force the issue. You pinch down to the guys at the inside of the racetrack and you push sometimes at a quarter. So we'll see what the 27 machine can do. Again, they need numbers. 3 of them can do it. But if they don't get by with this big head of steam, then they might get stuck out there. 3 on the outside versus the 6 or so at the bottom. They're going to be able to do it. See that one? Aggressive drafting. That's exactly what you need to do. And as those drill spill guys at the outside of the racetrack trying to work together, I think both of them, if not all 3, might get clear.
Yeah, and drill spill has been hooked up and on rails tonight. As you see, the 48
that was beautiful.
get clear right there as they make their way by that 3 of Aaron Bennett, who basically had no help. He got separated from the 6 of Tommy Ryan, and it allowed the 1, the 27, and the 48 to just shoot right by there, going down the back straightaway. Now Aaron Bennett's going to be tucked up behind that 48 machine, but these drill spill guys have been on something tonight here, Evan, and they're basically been the fire starter for the whole night. They've been getting the race going, because as you see now, they're side by side beside him. You can see Greg Mall, Scott Simley coming up behind lap traffic of Seth Foudy, so they're going to have to work around him. But now everything's starting, everybody's 2 by 2, and it's all thanks to that 1 and 27.
So now I think they've kind of inspired a couple of guys to get after this thing. And look at the 22 machine coming up the outside of the racetrack. Seth Foudy is 8 laps down in 22nd, but he's helping out Greg Mall, who's in 8th position, because lead lap driver, the 12 of Mall and the 68 of Simley, kind of used in the wake of that lap down machine, multiple lap down machine, to pull up on the outside of the racetrack. And now the outside's starting to form up. 48 going to jump up to the outside of the racetrack, and now we'll be able to have some sort of a challenge for the race lead with that Lowe's 48 machine on the outside, about a truck length shy of P1 to this point.
Yeah, and he's going to get there coming off the corner now, Evan. Seth Foudy being a huge help to that 48 machine. He's kind of the outlier as we go down the back straightaway here. They're going to get a full head of steam getting that run off the top of the corner, and Seth Foudy's going to suck up right to the back bumper of that 48 machine, because Seth Foudy's got nothing to lose. He can be all over the back bumper of that 48, and it looks like he might be able to clear that 48 in front of the 27, but it's not going to happen. They're going to stall out there on the outside line coming through 3 and 4. Ashton Crowder are going to be able to power back on the inside, but now Aaron Bennett's jumped up there behind Seth Foudy, so now it's 3 cars versus 2, and numbers always win at Talladega.
Yeah, and the inside, I'm kind of surprised that the 27 and the 1 kind of ended up by themselves. The 48, though, maybe not a plan what the 22 and the 3 are cooking, because he made a move to the inside, and the 22 didn't even think about it, not once. And again, that's the multiple lap down machine to Seth Foudy, who's in 22nd spot. Good news is he'll only be 7 laps down now, as he's technically 1 more lap in front of your race leaders. The 3, though, going to follow him through, and Aaron Bennett, the second truck in line in this pack, is going to be a race leader come the end of lap 59 this time by. Well executed move. I have to think the 22 and the 3 coordinated that one, because they came from way back together. The 48 jumped up and hopped in front of him. He was about 2nd or 3rd in line on the inside. It got him to the point, but I think the plan was always for the 22 and the 3 to get up front. They did that. Now we'll see how long they stick together. I think Bennett might have wanted to get up in front of the 48, thought about it, but didn't make the move in time. We'll see, though, if anybody wants to go with weight.
And it's not looking like it. Like you mentioned, Evan, not many people are wanting to push the issue right now, because we're still outside of that fuel window here, so there's not very a big persistent push to the front. So that 48 is going to drop right behind Jason Jacoby on that inside. But the 3 of Aaron Bennett's doing something I like to call using all the resources you have here at Talladega, and the lap cars are just kind of one of them. You see one up there and it's kind of fast, and if it can pull you up to the front, it's fair game, and that's exactly what that 3 of Aaron Bennett did. And he's kind of pulled about maybe half a car length up there as they're trying to push away from Ashton Crowder. It won't quite happen because of this truck draft model we've talked about all night here tonight, as Waite's trying to get another run and get the outside line going again, but it's not just going to work. Tommy Ryan going to close up to that 1 machine.
Yeah, you got the Cup car, and then you step down from those to the B cars or the Xfinity Series cars, and then you have another step down from there to these trucks. And we're doing 190 plus miles an hour. So we're only maybe 10 miles an hour in these trucks. Off of the Cup cars, 192 down the Alabama Gang Super Stretch, 193 for Ashton Crowder in that number 27 machine, who is 3rd in line in this lead pack. Now, if you're the 3 machine of Aaron Bennett, and again, it's always a very interesting situation when you have lap machines in the lead pack, it's even more so a challenge when that lap machine at least appears to be in, communication with one of those guys that are working together. Completely fair game. The question is going to be, if this continues through to the final stint, if you're, that 3 of Bennett, I gotta feel like being a 2nd car in line, even though you're leading the race, hurts you. because you're not really able to move up and down and protect both lanes of the racetrack like you would have to. So at some point, I think he's going to have to shake the 22. Not now, because again, we talked about we're still going to get through pit stops, but I don't think these guys are going to be hooked up forever. That 3 is really pushing the 22, though, opening up a small gap on the 27 by about 3 truck lengths. They'll close back in, but he was really pushing him that time.
And also a counter to that of having to shake him because you can't really move up and down. Well, that 22 is helping that 3 car in many ways. One by pulling them along to lead the race, and one by pulling them along to save some fuel, which is always important here at Talladega, and that draft is a big part to that 3 of Aaron Bennett, who's right sucked up, and as you mentioned, going off, he's all over the back bumper of that 22 machine, trying to break a gap away from that 27, and it might happen here because look back, you'll see Jason Jacoby got really separated from Ashton Crowder that time, so that's going to leave the 27 all out alone, all out by himself, and that's going to allow the 3 and 22 to maybe pull away here, and that can only get better for Aaron Bennett because he can use that 22's draft to save some fuel, extend the run maybe just a little bit longer, and if they stay together, we can see those two at the front towards the end.
Anywhere in about 7 laps or so, we would kind of be at that point where that final 40 to go stint could be kind of sliced in half, and obviously the pit window opening up at about 5 or 6 laps, I would imagine. Doesn't mean that these guys are necessarily going to come down and pit right at that moment, but just for sake of making sure that the information is out there, if you were to see maybe a caution flag at that point, give it 5 or 6 laps. If that were to happen, then the fuel that everybody would get on board on the subsequent stops, I think, would be able to get to the end, and it would end this kind of single file. Maybe stalemate's not the right word, because we did see those drill spill guys go on the outside of the racetrack. They went to 1-2. Right now they're 3-4 with the actually the 2-3, 3-4 in line. But Crowder and Jacoby running only behind that number 3 of Aaron Bennett, who comes into tonight in a fantastic position at the top of the championship grid. Again, this is the second round on the United States Racing Truck Series Chase Grid, the round of 9. Only one more race to go after tonight. We had a winner already from 1 week ago, Scott Simley, taking a checkered flag in Charlotte. We'll go to Kansas next week, and then we will cut the field down to 6. But Bennett at the top of the championship into tonight. Scott Simley, Michael Waters, Greg Mall, Shane Hawther, Stephen Herring, the transfer spots before tonight's race with Foudy, Gillenwater, and Dunn. Those back 3 on the chase grid that are going to have to make something up. We'll do our best to get you points when this thing cycles down to the end, and will give us a better picture of really what the scenario is going to be going into Kansas in just 1 week's time, really, for the next race on the season. But the 22 is going to drop off on his own, headed down pit side. And that means that we don't have to talk about him anymore. Aaron Bennett going to continue to lead this race, but now the lead car in the draft. Now, got to watch, because I think the 27 and the 1 may now be actually in a better position to set up to pass him.
Yeah, and on the note of those points, Evan, I just want to take a quick note to see where our 1 and 2 drivers are in those points, because going into this thing, Scott Simley was 1 point back, but if you look at the track, Aaron Bennett, of course, leading this race, but Scott Simley all the way back in then 8th position, 9 seconds back from our lead car of Aaron Bennett, so that always plays a big factor in, and I'm going to say we're going to see that 68 come up here in that 8th position. So it's going to be interesting to see if that 68 can come up through the field and get up there to that lead car. So it's going to be interesting, definitely interesting to see that. But as you mentioned, that 22 of Seth Foudy down pit roads and no longer helping the 3 of Aaron Bennett. So that throws out what I was saying with helping him. It's going to be interesting to see.
Right, and also we've been talking a fair bit about that 22 of Seth Foudy. He's basically, I don't think he's going to get much further up than 21st position. Might be able to get something from Lisenby, might be able to get something from Mara if they wreck out of this race. Obviously, only being 8 laps down. If there's a big wreck with more than 8 laps to go and, you know, those trucks are out of this thing, he'll make up spots. But at the end of the day, no better than a top 15 finish on a good note. And coming into tonight, Foudy not in a very good position after being second in the round of 12 and making it easily into this round of 9. Already came into tonight at an 8-point deficit to the transfer spot. He is not going to be looking pretty headed into Kansas. It may have to really get on it and, do something that, Seth Foudy, we know he can do. but all the way through so far, he only has 1 win on the season. It came at Chicagoland, a track that, in all fairness, somewhat similar to its fellow 1.5 miler in Kansas, so it's not impossible. The 22 definitely not going to be in the best spot come next week's time, I guess, to say that. Another driver going to be put a lap down on the outside of the racetrack. You could tell the speed difference between the pack and somebody riding solo. That is George Hendricks, 23rd, who is now going to be a 15th lap down. Lap traffic, though, doing a good job sporadically as we catch them of staying high and really haven't given us any hold your breath moments as far as getting around them.
Yeah, and I definitely want to correct myself here because I said Scott Simley was 9 seconds back. He definitely was not. He's in the lead pack. I read the stat sheet too fast. I thought it said 9 seconds, but it's 9/10. He's in that lead pack, so I didn't want anybody to be confused if you start seeing that 68 up there battling for the lead anytime soon, because it definitely can happen with Scott Simley. We saw him pick up the win last week at Charlotte, so he's always a strong car and a strong competitor in the United Sim Racing Truck Series. So definitely got to correct myself in that. Cisco keeping us in line down there, and the production trailer feeding that to me and telling me I messed up. So big thank you to him. Aaron Bennett still out front, as Shane Hawthorne is going to go a lap down. He's sitting there. He's kind of separating the drill spill guys right there. He's in front of Jason Jacoby, kind of separated him from Ashton Crowder. So that kind of plays into the favor of Aaron Bennett. And don't look back right now. Seth Bowdy coming through the outside line with Michael Waite. He's pulling one of those lead lap guys up. So Seth Bowdy all about helping these lead lap cars late in this race.
And it's always the 22 on the outside of the racetrack. He pitted by himself and has somehow found himself back up here in the position. If he ends up in front of the 3 again, and you know, the 22 came down, pitted, got back up, and got right back with the 3, and they get hooked up again, I'll have to tip my cap to those two because, again, 22 pitted all on his lonesome, but has ended up in front of the 48. Waite is a lead lap truck, but the 22 is not. And this is the same assistance that 3 of Bennett used to get to the race lead, a position that he has held ever since then. But the 48 might be able to tow off with the 22 and get to the point. It depends on if the 22 is going to get right down in front of the 3 and hook those 2 guys up once again, or if he'll wait long enough if they get a big run to bring the 48 down in front of him with him. Not the run they're looking for this time in 2, so it's not going to happen this lap.
No, and definitely, and just as I was mentioning, Scott Simley going to be right up there behind them, so there's going to be 3 cars now on the outside line, and I don't really know what Seth Bowdy's game plan is going off here. He's not quite clear of Aaron Bennett, and you would think if Aaron Bennett really wanted Seth Bowdy to get in there, he would slow up that 27 on the inside line and allow that 22 to get in front of him. So it does not seem the case. Plus, it wouldn't last for too long because we're going to start seeing the window open here for green flag pit stops for the final time for the fuel, and they would be on separate schedules, so it just wouldn't work out for that much longer either way. So I think that Seth Bowdy is just enjoying being up in the front. He was involved in that lap 1 big one, and he was not able to continue competing here as he's 8 laps down, about to be 7 if he can get clear of Aaron Bennett. But now Michael Waite is going to drop in behind Ashton Crowder, so that's going to move Scott Simley up to the back of Seth Bowdy.
This time by 22 laps to go from Lincoln, Alabama. There they go. They're the 40 to Michael Waite. Big contact in turns 3 and 4, and a lot of carnage all around the 40 to Michael Waite.
Yeah, and it was just a quick lane change, and that's all it takes here at the Talladega Super Speedway. I think they were trying to do something Cisco and I talked about earlier, and something the drill spill guys do so well, and that's the switch, because you saw Michael Waite jump down there off, and Seth Bowdy was able to back off a little bit, let that 48 back up, but as soon as that 48 yanked up high in the turns 3, it upset that truck so much that it sent him sideways, and Seth Bowdy was only a help to it, sent that 48 off into the outside wall, collected him. Seth Bowdy was somewhat involved, and the 48 went up and over a few times in 3 and 4.
Big hit for the 22. I think most of the other trucks were able to avoid damage just because they went under the 48, but you saw it on that overhead shot on the replay. I thought at first the 48 came up, clipped the right rear on the nose of the 22 and got out of shape, but he just jerked it up the hill so tight that when he makes that quick right and then left movement, especially going into the corner, then the back end just started to slide out, and the 22, who is lined up to hit him square on the bumper, ends up hitting him on the left rear quarter panel. Best shot there was on board with Seth Foudy, and you can see that that truck just kind of fishtailed into the corner, and there's really nothing you can expect the 22 to do at that point because he's got somebody already shoving him into the turn as well.
Yeah, and for these lead lap drivers, Evan, that kind of throws strategy out the window, because if I'm doing my math correctly, we're in the window to make it to the end as all these drivers are coming down pit road for their tires and fuel. We're going to see Aaron Bennett put them up and get going here. So strategy pretty much out the window. It's going to be an all-out race to the end.
Race leaders hit it out of the pit lane. Aaron Bennett in the number 3 Chevrolet coming down to get service. He goes with 4 tires. He will come off of the pit lane behind a handful of drivers. Rind, Formosa, Terrell, just to name a few of them. The point that it was going to make right before we saw that contact down in 3 and 4 was if we were to count when the guys had last pitted in green flag conditions to the end, that lap would have been the halfway point. A caution flag ends up being the reason drivers are down pit road, but they should be able to go to the end on the fuel on board. It'll be a restart inside of 20 laps to go coming up. Before that reaches, though, let's take a quick opportunity to step aside one more time, and we'll do so LSRTV non-stop so you don't miss a moment of the action. Tommy Ryan, the first driver off of the pit lane. We've got a 20 lap to go shootout from Talladega. The end coming up next at LSRTV and iRacing Live.
There are 3 different paths if you want to call yourself a world champion of sim racing. NASCAR, open wheels, or endurance racing. But no matter which one you take, you can guarantee that the journey will always be tough, which few will ever complete. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the premier road racing series in sim racing, started with a new car taking center stage. Then, it was Martin Kroenke resisting any challenge thrown at him to break the 5-year stranglehold of Gregor Hutu as being world champion. These drivers and teams are not just competing for pride, they're competing for money. And with over $20,000 in prizes for each of the series up for grabs, drivers really do put it all on the line.
The NASCAR Beginner for Series, powered by iRacing, is the premier NASCAR eSports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time Oval World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign.
The Blancpain GT Series hosts the top GT3 endurance teams in sim racing, with groups of 3 or more drivers sharing the wheel. This is a championship you can't win alone, and you need the same determination, passion and drive from your teammates to be successful. They often say that it takes just one mistake to lose a championship, and in team racing, it may not be your mistake that costs you the win. Last season, VRS Coanda SimSport won the championship by a single point. This year, who will step up to the plate?
These of the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. Catch it all season long with live coverage on iracing.com/live.
Welcome back live to the Talladega Super Speedway. Tonight's coverage of the United Series, the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series, and LSRTV is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. You could find out more information online at joel-real-timing.com, and you could also go on there, either get yourself a basic download or toss a little bit of cash that way and get yourself a pro. It is fantastic telemetry stuff, whether you're behind the wheel, on top of the pit box, or on the spouter stand. Again, that is joel-real-timing.com, and that is the official timing software of LSRTV. The lights are out on top of the pace car. Restart due up. 18 laps to go from Dega. No more holding it back. Chris, does it get fun now with 15 trucks or so on the lead lap?
I say it does. This is where everybody starts making their moves, and this is going to be the third person we've seen control the start here tonight at Talladega, going from Justin Michael to Chris Gabot, and now Tommy Ryan up there in that sixth machine. He's going to be bringing it down to the green flag, and I say all bets are off here. You know, we're inside 20 laps to go, and this is where people start making their moves. So I'm going to definitely be watching a few of these drivers towards the back of the lead pack to see what they got.
Pace car gonna duck down. The 60 to have to hold them at bay, as always, as it is Talladega. You got to cycle through the triumphal before we get to that flag stand, which could be a difference maker, that extra 200 feet or so, depending on how tight things get in these final 18 laps. But we're off and away for what could be for the final time. Underneath the green flag we come as we go back underway. 76 laps complete at our Talladega 250.
Been off to a great start. Going to be side by side with Bobby Terrell. He's all over the back bumper of that 80 machine of Scott Formosa. But look here, we got a driver all the way up. That's the 88 of Jeff Ryan. He was involved in that last lap caution. He started 15th. He's up to 5th. So don't know if there was any foul play going on that restart, if he just chimed it perfectly. But I don't say anybody gets that great of a run starting 15th all the way up to the lead. So we will see what happens here. And it looks like he did time the restart, so move that 88 machine up to the lead.
Yeah, we'll see what happened. It completely legal because he was not with the group, and I'm taking a look back, and he was definitely not sandbagging. He was holding it wide at 177 miles an hour all the way through. The field had already taken a green flag, and he went to the outside. It doesn't look the best for Jeff Ryan. I'll tell you what, if he could have planned it that way, it would have been amazing. But I took a look back at the lap leading up to the restart for the 88, Chris, and in my opinion, I don't think he sandbagged on purpose. He was full throttle all the way off for the pit lane and catching up. I said 15 or so lead cars in this pack, as he's going to lose the race lead. Scott Formosa going to get a shove from the 3. I said 15 or so because I saw the telemetry as we were down the back, and he was a minute behind. So he came all the way around, and I say fair is fair. I don't think he deserves a penalty for that one. It's one way of getting inside of the top 5.
And it's definitely one of the smartest moves I've seen here tonight. If you can time it right, and if you can get up there by any means necessary, you got to go for it, especially with all these laps winding down. You can't afford to sit back there in 15th and try to get your way up there the hard way. If you can get something come easy, then take it, and that's exactly what he did. He's going to be up there in the 4th position now on the inside of Ashton Crowder, as Greg Moll and Scott Simley are going to be up there trying to get down to the up to the 27, going off into turn 3.
So the 88's going to find himself 3rd in line on the inside. It was funny because just a lap off of the restart, Aaron Bennett was sinking like a ship down on the outside of the racetrack, going way back with absolutely no help. And now he's leading this race, coming to 15 laps to go. And he's got to get a push for Formosa behind him. The 88 of Jeff Ryan, though, is going to come down to the pit lane, maybe to serve a penalty as he drops out from 3rd.
And so what we call fair, the iRacing service may not. Maybe there was some foul play. Evan, he may have got a black flag for passing some cars, and he'll come down pit road, maybe serve that penalty, just forfeit all the position and all the time he had just gained. And Aaron Bennett going to be trying to hold off Ashton Crowder now as Greg Moll just now got to the back bumper of that 27 machine. Scott Formosa going to be all over the back bumper of that 3 of Aaron Bennett as Tommy Ryan has kind of fallen off. He's got to get a few shoves from that 94 Bobby Turro if he wants to get back up there quickly and maybe help out that 3 of Aaron Bennett to try to get past Ashton Crowder.
Not a huge deal, Jeff Ryan, not one of the drivers on the championship grid of 9. I don't see anything in the sim that would indicate that it was a penalty handed down by the admins, unless it was something that came courtesy of, they were told over the radio. I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of, but, if they gave him a directive, rather, over the radio that he needed to come down and serve a 10-second penalty or so, then I would disagree with that. Because I don't think he did anything wrong, but if iRacing gave him a penalty, you can't do much about that, and it's going to take him out of this thing, and it leaves us with 14 trucks in the lead pack. 27 of Crowder trying to play a spoiler. We've been talking a lot about this 27 machine. Direct to Dover, not necessarily the best of news. He would like to get good news out of tonight, park at a victory lane, and chat with us under some different circumstances. He's in a good spot, looking for some help, though.
Yeah, as you say, he's looking for some help. He's going to have to be looking for some major help as he's got that outside lane pretty stacked up. He tried to get down there in front of the 11 of Shane Hoffer, but he's not going to be clear. He's going to fall back and drop down right in front, and look who's going to be behind him. His drill spill teammate Jason Jacoby in that Domino's machine. So what a better person to have on your back bumper than a teammate, but it doesn't look like it will be helping him out any as Jason Jacoby jumps to the high side and tries to suck up to Shane Hawthorne in that 64 of Michael Priester. So Ashton Crowder going to be looking to get up there now. He's going to get back up on the high side as now Robert Gillenwater is going to try to get on the inside and maybe close up some of those spots that he can gain on that inside line.
Yeah, and why not? We do have a lot more trucks in this thing. Ironically enough, there's only about 4 more. Again, we had that 8-truck breakaway. We got a couple of more drivers in it. So there's only 3 more trucks in this lead pack than there were, 35, 40 laps to go. But everybody has the ability to go. And I told you that these trucks can race. It's going to get fun. 11 laps to go next time by. 94 laps. Going to be all it takes to get to 250 miles. Look at that 11 of Shane Hawthorne. Thought he might have been thinking about going to the inside of Priester. Doesn't do it.
Yeah, he thought better of it there. The 64 Priester was coming down with him and just left him with no room, shutting the door on Shane Hawthorne. So he's going to be forced to push that driver, but that's going to stack them up a little bit. Now Shane Hawthorne going to move down to the inside line. That's going to leave Ashton Crowder to do the bidding of that 11 car and get on the back bumper of Michael Priester and try to push him up to Aaron Bennett. Aaron Bennett's got to be loving all the changing he sees around going on the outside because they're not quite up to the 3, but they're on the outside of Scott Formosa. So with all this changing going around, Scott can't even move. So that's going to keep everyone at bay for the time being, and the 3 doesn't really have to do much work.
Going to be on the money with 10 laps to go this next time by Jeff Ryan in that number 88 machine. As we just saw, got lapped by this lead pack. He is going to fall into the lucky dog position. He would actually have to battle with Michael Waters for that. Waters, though, has lost touch with the lead pack, and that will be a tough break for whatever chase drivers who came into tonight. I think 15 points above the cut line. A P16 will definitely put him, I believe, still in the top 6. But it might be a little bit dicey as far as how much of a gap he may have as we go into the final race of this round of 6, or rather in the round of 9, getting cut down to 6 in 1 week's time. But do have to note, as always, that if we get to 4 laps to go or less in this race from Talladega, and we get a caution, this race will end at that point. There's no NASCAR overtime. There's no green-white checker. 94 laps, no more, no less. So conventional wisdom at Talladega is, when do you make the move? Do you make the move at the 2 to go or the 1 to go, or do you make it out of turn number 4? You cannot sit around and wait in second. So to get to 4 laps to go, this race could end at an instant. Things are going to get crazy. But again, that's at 4 laps to go or less. Anything between now and 5 to go would still give us maybe a very short 2 or 1 lap to go run to the finish in this one. But I think the 64 and the 27, they just need some help. Priester and Crowder are there, but maybe 2 more trucks, I think, might give them that little bit of extra oomph they need to clear the guys on the inside. Now, you don't have to clear Aaron Bennett to beat him. You just have to got a nose on him at the start-finish line, but I think they need a little bit more support.
Yeah, and their closest support's going to be that 4 of Robert Gillenwater, who's about 3 trucks back from that 27 machine. So he's getting a great shove from Chris Gabot in that 5 machine. So they're looking to close up a gap going off into turn 3, and they do. They close up quite a bit of time there. They're now going to be fighting Tommy Ryan on that inside line. So they're going to be there in the draft, and they're going to be there coming off of turn 4. So 2 more trucks, that's exactly what you got here, Evan, as they go across into the trioval. The 4 and the 5 are going to be there.
And now that extra support, I think, might make this more of a fair fight. 4 on the outside, 5 on the outside. There's maybe 4 more trucks straggling behind who have not committed to going to either or lane as they run right now. But you got non-chasers leading on the outside of the racetrack. You've got Aaron Bennett, who wants to pad his lead going into the final race of the round of 9 in a fantastic position. Couldn't be any better, in all honesty, for that 3 team. But these non-chasers are not going to roll over just because they've got a yellow number on those trucks to signify that they're a chase driver, and you can tell that they're a chase competitor because up on the top of your screen on the ticker, they've got yellow numbers as well. There is a level of respect, I think, that the non-chasers have to give to these chase guys, but don't think they're going to make it easy on them. Big push this time at a turn 4. Yes, sir. New race leader, Michael Priester.
Yeah, he did. He got that shove from that 27 of Ashton Crowder that got him right by, but Ashton Crowder is going to get the favor repaid as the 4 is going to be all over that back bumper. Robert Gillenwater, also one of those chasers, along with Shane Hoffer. They're up there inside the top 10, and it's always important to note those drivers back in the back of the point standings going into the second round. Shane Hoffer, he's 12 points back going into this. He's having a phenomenal run as there's a bump. Aaron Bennett almost gets turned. He's going to come back up on track. Everybody's going to be able to make it through, it seems like. But that's a big jumble up, and definitely not what that 3 car needed coming down to the wire.
It was a good save. Could have been worse. He could have ended up in a fence, but that now takes him way out of this thing, and he's no longer in a good position. Look, no help for Priester. 3 drivers going to hook up on the outside. Ashton Crowder going to go to the race lead. Gillenwater doesn't go low with them. Now the 4 and the 5. Remember how they hopped up and to get behind the 27 and the 3? They were 3rd and 4th in line on the outside. They're going to be going for the race lead. This time at a turn number 2. 5 laps to go. Next time by from Talladega. And I think Gillenwater at least is going to be clear. Not sure about the 5.
Yeah, and Aaron Bennett was able to make a great rebound there. He got right up on the back bumper of that inside line, that 64 of Priester. So he's back up there in the mix, but he's kind of trapped there on the inside line. He has nowhere to go. As you got to watch that 5 of Chris Gabot. He's all over the place. That's because he's getting a bunch of pushes from that 11 of Shane Hoffer. So you're going to have to watch those drivers. They've been close to coming to records. They're almost 3 wide coming down the trial. Well, you'd think this is the last lap here, Evan. Everybody trying to make any move they can to progress through this field.
Yeah, this thing could end at any moment, and Priester in the 64 might just be able to get back to the point. A little bit tighter with the lap traffic that time as we're 2 wide throughout the field. And a big shove. Look at the 3 of Aaron Bennett. All kinds of over. That 27, it's got a little bit of history, by the way, with that 27 of Ashton Crowder. You remember from a couple of weeks ago. So the 3 machine now having to work with the 27. Funny how times can change. Next time by 4 laps to go, they're working on the inside. The 3 is going to have to push the 27, clear the 64 so that Bennett can get to the outside and try to pass in. No good for the 3 machine there if he can't get to the outside. And right now he's boxed in.
Yeah, and this time we're at that point of no return, Evan. This is basically it. It's checkers or wreckers, I guess, because it's going to be the point of no return. No caution will come out at this point, or if a caution does come out, it will end the race. So we'll have to see how these drivers take that into account. They're going to be beating and banging, trying to get up to the front because they know if anything happens, it's going to be over no matter what.
Still waiting to see if there's going to be somebody from back here, maybe the 11 of Hawthorne, the 1 of Jacoby, the 94 of Terrell. If we get another 3-car group somewhere, that's able to form up and get into this thing. But so far, it looks like that the people running up front, the 2x2, really have things on lock at the moment. and it's going to be hard to get around him. The 3 of Bennett looking low. Now the 4 looking high, getting impatient, and Priester going to go to the inside. I'm not sure that was the best move, because now Gillenwater, with help from behind, opens up the outside of the racetrack.
Yeah, it opens up the outside of the racetrack, but now the outside kind of gets discombobulated coming off a 2, so that may have been the move Michael Priester needed to make, because the outside line's going to get shuffled up. It's basically going to be non-existent at this point, Evan, as now Aaron Bennett, just what he needed to jump to the outside, he's going to be out there now.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was looking for, but he needs help. The problem is, by the time the 4 gets on his bumper, somebody on the inside is going to do just what he did. Look for Crowder to go high. Look for the 80 machinist, Scott Formosa to go high, and Bennett may have gotten out of third in line on the inside, but it might end up third in line on the outside of the racetrack. Here he comes, and there goes Formosa. Nice move, courtesy of the number 8 machine with 2 laps to go to now lead the outside, and with only 2 drivers push it on the inside, they might have a shot this time, but a 2, keep an eye on him.
Yeah, now look at that 1 of Jason Jacoby. Look who he's right behind his teammate. That 27 machine of Ashton Crowder drill spill hooked up. Now they're going to be going down. They're kind of trapped on that inside line. They have to figure out a way to get by Michael Priester as they get so close.
Oh, there goes the 3! Caution, a flag, and a flag coming to the white flag. Ball game over. Michael Priester in front at the time of caution.
And what a heartbreak for that 3 of Aaron Bennett. He was practically almost up there to fight for this win, coming off into 3, coming to the white flag lap. It looks like he got a shove from Robert Gillenwater, and it basically just upset that car, came down into Ashton Crowder and right back up across the nose of Robert Gillenwater, hard into the wall, and he's up and over and came back down on all 4s, but just definitely not what you want to see from your points leader.
It was coming down to the end of this thing. We needed maybe 27 more seconds to be able to get back to the start-finish line, and we would have been able to race this thing out. And an unfortunate incident. I'll tell you what, how quickly the tides had changed. Aaron Bennett, we were talking about, he was sitting pretty, looking good, leading the championship into tonight, leading this race inside of 10 laps to go, and he ended up starting this race with a 21-point advantage over a cutoff spot, but with a 14th place finish. Now he may end up floating around 3rd or 4th or even 5th spot come the end of the night, and puts him in a completely different situation when it comes to what the objective is going to have to be come next Saturday night. But for Michael Priester, the spoils of being the spoiler are just as sweet. The driver of the 64 started way back in 28th position, didn't even take a time at qualifying. He'll be your biggest mover tonight, and he'll come out of the tri-oval behind the iRacing.com official pace car, and under the checker, he'll take the caution and the checker alongside. Priester gets the win from Talladega.
And that just goes to show it doesn't matter where you start here at Talladega. You can get it done from practically anywhere. That 64 was able to work that draft and work the pit stops to an advantage and figure out a way to always be up towards the front. So Michael Priester earned this win tonight at Talladega.
He's got some celebrations in order. Is nonetheless solid results, you know, for the likes of Formosa, Crowder. Top 3 in this race, top 4, I believe. With Jacoby included as well, non-chase competitors. I think Gillenwater may have been the first chase finisher. Again, I'll take a double check to make sure, but if that's the case, he came into tonight 12 points out of a transfer spot, 8th into points, and only the top 6 are getting a ticket after next week, and that could be a fantastic week and a great result for Gillenwater. Could be big.
It's gonna be interesting to see how the points shake out this time, as you know, our points leader involved in that last lap crash, Robert Gillenwater, gonna be one of the biggest chase movers of today, and Shane Hawthorne right behind him. They were both 2 that were kind of back there towards the back of the point standings, and basically needed a good run here at Talladega. So they got it done. They did exactly what they needed to do here tonight at Talladega, and what a great points day for them.
Celebrating on the front straightaway is Michael Priester. He's your winner in the United Series BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series Talladega 250. And just taking a quick scroll through the season, I believe first win for him, Chris, on 2017.
That is correct, Evan. So we're seeing a lot of first winners here. We saw Scott Simley pick up his first win last week, I think, and now we're going to see Michael Priester pick up his first. So a lot of firsts here as we're rounding down the chase. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out next week, if there's any more firsts.
We'll be chatting with the first-time winner in just a moment. First, we'll take one more opportunity to step aside. When we come back post-race from Talladega, we'll chat about the Wild Dega 250. Tonight, we'll get you set for the final race of the round of 9, coming up in a week's time from the Kansas Speedway. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the United Series BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. In iRacing Live, we head to Victory Lane when we come back. Happy to have you back live from Lincoln, Alabama. We're going to go trackside, talk with your race winner in tonight's Talladega 250, the 25th race on this 2017 United Series BNC Truck Series campaign. Before we do so, let's take a look at our LSRTV full race results. Michael Priester taking home his first checkered flag in 2017. Scott Formosa P2 and Ashton Crowder P3. We will be trackside with all of those drivers in just a moment. Jason Jacoby, Robert Gillenwater. Solid results for those guys inside of the top 5 of the 4, leading the push for the chase competitors. Behind him, Shane Hawthorne with a good finish, coming home in 6th spot tonight. Chris Cabot in 7th. Bobby Terrell comes home 8th. Scott Simley comes home in 9th. And the 6th of Tommy Ryan get around through our top 10.
Dwayne Dunn's going to capture that 11th place position, while Greg Mall in that 12 machine comes home 12th. The 13th belongs to Steve Herring. Jeff Ryan going to be 14th. 15th belongs to Aaron Bennett after that wild 2-to-go crash who sent him flying through the air. Michael Waters is going to be 16th. 17th, Randy Tester. 18th, Matt Marr. George Hendricks going to be 19th, and 20th belongs to that 48 of Michael Waite.
And at this point, again, everybody from here on out of this race, 21st through 25, is Seth Felty, Justin Lisby, JB Walker, Skylar Grissom, and Justin Kleber. Through 30th, Ralph Vander Vorst, Keith Butt, Justin Michael Atkins Jr., and Ricky Howell. And then, as noted prior, the guys who didn't even complete the opening 2.66 miles of this thing, Michael Warren 31st, and Ryan Cutts 32nd. It evolved in the big one. Early on in this race, we ended up with only 13 drivers on the lead lap, and at the end of the day, it is the driver of the number 64. Michael Priester is your winner tonight for the Talladega Superspeedway. We're trackside with him now. Michael, congratulations for you guys. It was an exciting race. Couple of times there you had to fight back up on the outside, and I know that you had to know a storm was coming, but a caution flag comes out with about a lap and a third left to go, and when it did, it was the 64 Chevrolet out in front.
Yeah, I was stoked to see that caution flag. This is my first win in this series. I joined this series about 2 years ago, man, and I love racing with all these guys. Have a lot of fun. I try to race clean, and tonight I got out there and decided to go for it. About a quarter way through the race, I fell back, but the number 5 there, Chris, worked with me, and we stayed on the lead lap. So on those final restarts, we had a shot at it, and got lucky there on those last few laps, got that caution, but I was hoping for it.
You know, I was going to say, you didn't make it easy on yourself because you started way back in 28th position, so you're actually the biggest mover tonight as well, plus 27 positions, having to come from, way back on, I guess, what ended up being the outside of row 14 or so, especially with the big junk there. I'm sure that helped you to kind of make up a couple of spots.
Yeah, these plate races, they're all, at the beginning of them, you got so many cars out there, everybody's bumping, and not sure how these bumpers are going to line up. So I just like to start in the back, hang out, and on that first lap, I got lucky to get around that wreck. I barely got through it, dropped on the apron, and helped me. Yeah, it helped me. I think I went up to like 4th, decided to pit, and was back in 7th or 8th when on that second restart. So that helped me out a lot. And from there, it was just trying to stay on the lead lap and keeping my car clean.
So obviously the purpose for you guys, coming in here week in and week out, obviously not being a part of the championship grid is to get wins, and you guys do that here at Talladega. So I want to congratulate you guys on finally being able to do that. The objective now going to be the same in 1 week's time, and that is that you guys are out here to try to get wins. You don't have to worry about points racing. So we look to the next race, the Kansas Speedway. It is no Talladega. What do you guys kind of expect for that one?
Kansas, next to Talladega, I'd say Kansas is my second or third best track. I love running the high line there. I think the last time we raced there, I finished 6th or 7th. I think I was actually behind Michael Waters. We had a good race till the end there, so I'm definitely looking forward to Kansas. We should have some long green flag runs there, which is I like. I like the strategy calls, and we're going to try to go for another win. Like you said, we don't want to get in the way of any of these chase racers. We want to respect their room on the racetrack, but at the same time, we find ourselves in the top five, we're going to go for the wins.
We'll let you take off, Michael, but want to give you your dues, the sponsors, the shout-outs who made this happen for you.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout-out to Bad Boys Welding at Delta Tech. And that's pretty much it. And a shout-out to the Aaron Bennett and the administrators of this league. They do a great job, and I enjoy racing with them every week.
That's your race winner tonight from Talladega. Michael, thanks for sticking around and chatting with us again. Congratulations, sir. It is a well-deserved win, and hopefully there's more of these down the line. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, shout out to you guys, too. Appreciate you guys doing the broadcast every week. All guys, have a good night.
Started back in 28th position to march to the front. Michael Priester is your winner tonight from Talladega. Scott Formosa, Ashton Crowder, they were both in the conversation late. They're both going to be trackside with Chris Murdoch. First, though, the driver of the number 80 machine standing by.
Standing here with Scott Formosa. He started 18th, came home second. So what an amazing run, Scott, you had here tonight. Take us through your race here tonight.
Well, actually, it's a pretty solid night for us. We didn't qualify that good and just kind of stayed up in the top 5 or 6 all night. My teammates, Gillen Water and Chris Jabot, they had a few issues, but they were there right there at the end, and I just kind of bided my time. Just a good solid night. That's all I can say about tonight.
And, you know, speaking of teammates and how important they are here at Talladega, we found you separated from your teammates here for most of the race. So how did you approach trying to talk to other drivers, and who were you really leaning on to help you get up towards the front?
You know, I really didn't talk to anybody else. I just kind of mainly just rode. Once I got up in the top 5 or 6, try to stay on the bottom. I got in behind, I think, Bobby Terrell, the 94, and seemed pretty comfortable behind him. And finally, there at the end, it's just everybody is just making moves. I was behind the 3 of Aaron, and I hated to see that caution come out. I thought maybe I might have a shot at the winner there, but you know it didn't happen. But I'm happy with second, man. I won earlier this year here and a second tonight, so I'm pretty happy.
And, you know, moving on from here to Kansas, you know, you have somewhat of a luxury, and I know it's kind of weird to hear me say that you're not kind of in the round of 9, even though you would probably like to be racing for that championship, but you don't really have the burden of points over your head. So how does a driver like that approach Kansas next week?
I just go all out, try to win the race, take chances, take pit strategy chances, just anything. It points does not matter to me at this point. I didn't make the chase. I wish I would have, but it didn't happen this year. It's all about trying to win races these last couple of races we got left.
And before we let you go here, you definitely earned that second place here tonight, all the way back from 18th. We're going to give you a chance. Sponsor shoutouts. Who makes it happen there for you, Scott?
That would be my business in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, County Line Motors, All Out Towing. I want to thank Aaron and the league over here, man. They do a great job. I want to thank Bob Gillenwater, Chris Chabot, Louis Robinette, some of my teammates that I run with over here. I want to thank you guys, too. You do an awesome job doing this, man. I appreciate what y'all do.
Well, we always appreciate the kind words. Scott, congratulations on your second place finish. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again here soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
And there you have it. That's the 80 car of Scott Formosa. I'm going to move down the line here just a little bit, be talking to Ashton Crowder here now. Started third, finished third. Can't really complain about that night here, Ashton. What was it like out there?
It was crazy. Had that wreck on the first lap, which I knew there would be a wreck within the first green flag, or not green flag run, but the first little pit stop run, that first run before the pit stop, I should say. Didn't think it would come that early, but really glad we started going to the back, because we're there on the bottom, and right where that wreck happened, that's where we would have been. So circumstances worked our way there, but yeah, it was just crazy. I wish it would have finished under green, but really can't complain with a third place finish.
And teammates and working together has been kind of the talk of the broadcast here tonight, and we saw you and Jason Jacoby make a lot of runs up towards the front there with the drill spill crew. So how important was communication between you two? Were you guys talking a lot, or did you guys just kind of fall in line together?
Yeah, we were talking each other through the whole way. He had a little bit of nose damage, so that kind of held him back there. But yeah, we were talking the entire time, trying to tell each other where we need to go, how our cars or how our trucks were feeling on the old tires, because we were taking, I think the first 2 stops we didn't take any tires. Then we took left sides, and coming off pit road is kind of sketchy a lot of the time. But yeah, we were talking to each other the whole way through, and worked out there at the end.
And we move on from Talladega to kind of basically not as hectic track in Kansas. What are you looking forward to at Kansas? And is it a strong track? Do you think that 27 machine can do well there?
Yeah, definitely do think we can do pretty good there. I think we finished third at Kansas last season. Or maybe it was in the beginning of the year, but yeah, I think we can do pretty good there. It's all highline racing, which is pretty lame most of the time. Can't really pass, can't really do anything, but it's going to be about saving your tires and setting yourself up for the end.
All right, and before we let you go here, Ashton, you know, we always like to give the opportunity for sponsors, shout-outs. Who makes it happen for that 27 machine?
Well, first, I just want to wish Eric Almirola all the best. He took a really hard hit in the Monster Energy Cup Series race tonight at Kansas. Just hope he's doing all right. But to the sponsors, I want to thank 2Y Designs, American Diabetes Association, JDRF, Real Picks, WrestleCrate.com, Racer Boost, the whole Drill Spill team, Blaze Crawford, let's see, Jason Jacoby, DJ Lion, and yeah, everybody over there.
All right, Ashton, there you go. Congratulations on your third place finish, and hopefully we'll be talking to you here again pretty soon.
Thank you.
All right, and there you have it. There's Ashton Crowder, finished third, started third here tonight at Talladega, and obviously all of us here at LSRTV would also like to extend our best wishes to Eric Almirola. We wanted to get through the high intensity of Talladega before we said anything about what's happened here tonight. Obviously, always heartbreaking to see a driver suffer an injury. So everybody here at LSR TV would like to extend our gratitude. Evan, on from that, Talladega's wrapping up here. We go from 2.66 miles to 1.5 miles. What are you looking forward to next week?
I think Kansas is Kansas. I think that, Talladega is always an excited race because it's Talladega. And, it's a completely different kind of thing. But I think that tonight we noted that there was a lot of going on as far as people who came into tonight above the bubble having bad nights, people who came into tonight below the bubble having good nights. I'm curious to see what the points are going to be when we head off into Kansas, and we'll have those points for you as soon as we can on our social media. So make sure you keep up to date with us on the Twitter and the Facebook, and we'll get you an updated look at that chase grid sometime either tonight or between now and next Saturday night. But it's going to be tight. And Kansas is a fun track. Going to be 133 laps there. It's going to be a day race, which is a little bit of a unique track condition, Chris, for that track as well. So I can't wait. We're cutting down from 9 to 6. These eliminations are getting tougher and tougher. It is a lot easier to be in the top 9 drivers of 12 than it is to be in the top 6 drivers of 9. And that's going to continue to the point where we're going to cut this thing down to 3 different drivers for a championship winner-take-all in Homestead. It is going to be an exciting rest of the season, and we hope that everybody is going to be joining us all the way through until this point wraps up. Homestead still coming up a little bit down the line, but there's plenty of action to come, and we hope that you stick it out with us. You can take a look at that full upcoming broadcast schedule online at our website. That'll be www.livesimracing.com. I also mentioned the social medias. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/C, the letter C, that is, /LSRTV, to make sure you get a notification every time we hop on the air here on iRacing Live. And also give us a follow on Twitter. That is at LSRTV. And you can like us on Facebook either by searching LSRTV or going to facebook.com/LSRTV official. That wraps up, though, our week here on iRacing Live. As we step aside from Talladega, I want to take an opportunity, as always, to thank everybody on the team at LSRTV LLC for what they do week in and week out behind the scenes. And obviously for the team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Chris Murdoch, for Cisco Scaramuza doing some double duty for me earlier on, and of course for all of you for tuning in. Congratulations. And this is always, I think, one of the best things about Talladega, to first-time winner in the USR Truck Series, Michael Priester, for getting the job done tonight. The chase rolls on. We will see you in 1 week's time from Kansas. It's an elimination race to the end of the round of 9. That race and every race through the 2017 United Sim Racing Truck Series chase can be found right here on LSR TV, the voice of sim racing.